This story is inspired by a truth that affects millions of people. Not the fear of heights, not the fear of darkness, but the fear of failure. The fear that whispers, "What if you try and it doesn't work?" The fear that convinces dreams to stay dreams. The fear that keeps talented people hidden from the world. This is the story of Michael, a young man whose greatest obstacle was not lack of ability, but the fear of failing. And perhaps, somewhere in his tale, you may find a piece of your own. Michael was known as a smart young man. He had ideas, he had ambition, he had dreams bigger than the town he lived in. Yet every time opportunity knocked, he found a reason not to answer. He wanted to start a business. What if it fails? He wanted to apply for a promotion. What if I'm rejected? He wanted to speak in public. What if people laugh at me? Years passed. Friends who once stood beside him began building lives of their own. Some succeeded, some failed and tried again. But Michael remained in the same place. Not because he lacked talent, because he feared failure more than he desired success. One evening, Michael sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through social media. Everyone seemed to be moving forward. A friend opened a company, another completed a degree, another traveled the world. For the first time, Michael felt something worse than fear, regret. That night, he asked himself a painful question. What if I fail? But another question followed. What if I never try? The second question frightened him more. Weeks later, Mikkel attended a community seminar. An elderly speaker stood before the audience. His voice was calm. His face carried the wisdom of experience. He said something Michael would never forget. Failure is painful, but regret lasts much longer. The room fell silent. So did Michael. The speaker continued. Every successful person you admire has failed many times. They simply refused to let failure have the final word. Those words followed Michael home. For days, he thought about them. Then he made a decision. Not a huge one, a small one. He would finally launch the project he had postponed for 3 years. The first month was difficult. Nobody noticed, nobody bought, nobody cared. The fear returned. It whispered, "See? You should have stayed safe." But this time Michael refused to quit. Instead of seeing failure as proof he wasn't good enough, he began seeing it as feedback. Every mistake became a lesson. Every setback became information. Every challenge became training. Slowly things improved. His confidence grew, not because he stopped failing, because he learned he could survive failure. And that changed everything. Months later, his project gained attention. People started noticing. Customers arrived. Opportunities appeared. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily. One day, a young man approached him and asked, "What's the secret to success?" Michael smiled. The secret isn't avoiding failure. It's learning not to fear it. Years later, Michael looked back on the life he almost lived, the life controlled by fear, the life where every opportunity remained untouched, the life where regret won. He was grateful he chose differently, because success did not arrive the day he succeeded. Success arrived the day he found the courage to begin. Lesson: fear will always exist. Every dream carries uncertainty. Every worthwhile goal carries risk. But remember this: failure is rarely what destroys people. The fear of failure does. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not fearless. They simply move forward despite fear. And sometimes, the biggest risk in life is refusing to take one. Thank you for listening. This story was inspired by my client who wanted to share his journey to the world. If this story touched you, Remember, your future is built by the chances you take, not the ones you avoid.